Right now, on to the point, the fight over reopening a gold mine.
Since 1956, there has been no mining on the property.
Those for and against the project sound off as officials prepare for a major vote. Concerns about a new COVID-19 variant spreading during the holidays, what you should know, and a new scam alert involving AI, what criminals are doing and the ways you can protect yourself.
Good evening. This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell, and we're starting with breaking news. Sacramento deputies are on scene of a homicide in North Highlands, and this is at Georgia Drive near A Street. Investigators say the call came in around 1 this afternoon about a fight involving 30 people. At one point, people were evacuated from their homes, and our Roxanne Elias is on the scene tonight. Roxanne, what have we learned so far?
Well, Alex, we have been able to move a little bit closer to the scene here. If you could take a look behind me, detectives still here as they tell us that the fight actually broke out here in the middle of the street on Georgia Drive. And from what we know, at least one gun was involved, which ended up in a man being killed. The sheriff's office doesn't know if all 30 people knew each other, but they assume some of them did. Right now, they don't have much of a suspect description, but there are multiple witnesses on scene which are being questioned by detectives as we speak. Now, initially, there were some reports that the suspect could be inside one of the homes here, but after SWAT teams evacuated some of the homes, they were not able to find a suspect. They were also looking at a camper parked in front of one of the homes, but we're not able to find anything.
No, right now these are all witnesses, so we don't have a single suspect detained. We don't have anything unless one of these witnesses turns out to be something that we don't know.
Back out here live, as you can see the intersection here at Georgia Drive and Gale Way, it's still blocked off and taped off as they continue to investigate. We asked if there is information on one suspect or multiple suspects, but that information we still don't know. It's still too soon. We have a crew here which will continue to follow it. Alex, back to you.
Roxanne, I do have one question before we go. Have police said if anybody else was hurt, or do we just know one person was hurt right now?
From what we know, Alex, out of all those 30 people, we just know of that one victim right now.
All right, Roxanne, thank you so much. And we're also following breaking news in Washington tonight. The House approved an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Republicans are focused on the Biden family's business dealings, particularly those of the president's son, Hunter. So far, the investigation has found no hard evidence that President Biden was directly involved in or benefited from the practices, and President Biden released a statement calling the impeachment query vote a, quote, stunt. Now, 3 committees will continue to investigate Biden to see if there are grounds to impeach him. Our next story is one that we have been following for months on To the Point, and it has sparked a lot of conversation in our community. Could a historic gold mine reopen in Nevada County? A company that now owns the property wants to do just that. And new into our newsroom, we're learning that county supervisors will announce a key decision on that project tomorrow. ABC 10's Becca Hobegger joins us from Nevada County, where she has been following a public meeting all day.
Here at the Nevada County Administrative Building, hundreds of people gathered for a public hearing about whether a historic gold mine can restart operations. The Idaho-Maryland mine is just outside Grass Valley city limits. It was a profitable gold mine in the late 1800s and throughout the first half of the 1900s. It closed in the mid-1950s. A company called Rise Gold Corp bought the mine in 2017, saying they believe there is still a good amount of gold to be mined. The project, however, has been met with opposition from hundreds of folks who live around here.
It's a huge project that would change the character of our wonderful little community.
People concerned about the impacts gold mining would have on the environment, traffic, water sources, and tourism. Rise Gold says the project would bring economic benefits to the local communities, including jobs. At a public hearing Wednesday, Nevada County supervisors heard arguments on one of the legal pathways the company could use to reopen the mine. The company argues it has something called a vested right to mine the property it owns, saying even though active mining stopped in the 1950s, the intent to use the land as an active mine has never been abandoned. Opponents say mining efforts on that property were abandoned decades ago, which strips any property owner of the vested right to begin mining again, and that they need to apply for a whole new permit. Here's how each side is making their case.
There's been a number of owners of this property over the years. Since 1956, there has been no mining on the property. And when the company that owned it in 1956 closed down shop, they stopped mining, they sold all of the equipment, and they allowed all of the tunnels to be filled with water.
The argument that was made on behalf of the county staff today is that vested right, that vested property right has been abandoned, and that's actually a position that's really disfavored in the law. We don't think it's easy for someone to give up a constitutional right. The burden is on the county to demonstrate abandonment.
After listening to hours of each side making their case and listening to dozens of public comments, Nevada County supervisors announced they will make their decision on Thursday morning. That meeting will begin at 9 a.m.
County officials today if there were any active mines permitted in the county right now. And actually right before the show, they gave us a list of 10 different places. So right now we do not know how large these operations are or how they would compare size-wise to the Idaho Maryland mine, but we will continue to follow this story and bring you more updates. An update now to a story that we told you about last night. Sacramento City Manager Howard Chan is set to get a $20,000 pay raise and additional time off. City documents indicate the raise is to cover cost of living increases. City Council approved this last night, and 6 council members voted yes and 3 abstained, including Mayor Darrell Steinberg. Here's the mayor explaining why.
I fully support his salary because he deserves it. Regarding the hours question, I am uncomfortable with, it's every right to make it. I'm uncomfortable with at this time, given the challenges that we face in the upcoming year.
Steinberg was referring to a multi-million-dollar deficit the city faces next year. With the latest decision, that will increase Chan's pay to around $420,000. In addition to the city manager, the city attorney, clerk, treasurer, and director of public safety accountability, they are also up for 5% increases. Tonight, a section of road in Modesto is back open after a major crash that might be due to fog. The CHP says it happened along Mitchell Road around 5 this morning. 17 vehicles were involved, including 3 big rigs. The CHP says more than 100 gallons of diesel had to be cleaned up, and thankfully, they say that there were only minor injuries reported in the crash. And new tonight, we hate to say it, but there is a new warning about a COVID-19 variant. It's happening as people are, of course, gathering for the holidays. It's also cold, flu, and respiratory virus season. So our Devin Truby joins us to explain a little bit more.
A new COVID variant has the attention of the CDC. JN.1 is responsible for almost 30% of all the new COVID cases in the U.S. Doctors say that means it's either more transmissible or better at evading our immune system.
As we continue to celebrate the holidays, a new COVID-19 variant is making the rounds. The CDC calling it JN.1, the fastest growing variant and somewhat more contagious.
Concerning variant, it seems to multiply about twice as fast as more recent variants. And it's more than doubled in terms of the proportion of isolates that have been detected in the U.S. over the past 2 weeks.
The CDC says the symptoms of the latest variant vary depending upon a person's immunity and health. JN.1 was detected in the U.S. in September, classified as a descendant of the Omicron variant, which overwhelmed hospitals last year.
Seeing hospital admissions for COVID, there's certainly an uptick, and we've seen that with California and nationwide numbers.
This year, according to the CDC data, hospitals aren't seeing as many patients. The weekly average of new hospital admissions is 2,488 compared to last year's 4,790.
So one of the things that we're seeing this year is there's more people who certainly have immunity to COVID, either from vaccination or from infection or the combination of the two. And the good news with COVID, with this new variant JN.1, is that our current vaccine appears to provide excellent protection against that.
The positivity rate for flu right now in California is the same as COVID, 8.8%.
Influenza is also on the rise. This increase in COVID cases, we do expect there to be a bump in cases, a surge. This should peak within the next month or two.
If you take a look at this graph, you can see ICU bed activity is flat. And the 2 blue lines on the graph show this year and last year are similar, around 1,500 beds open.
There's still time to get a COVID and flu vaccine and have it be effective for your holiday gatherings. Plus, officials are saying Both the COVID and flu vaccine are very effective against these current strains, Alex.
All right, Devin, thank you. Next, for the first time in nearly 75 years, beavers were released into the wild, the benefit that they have on our local ecosystem.
I'm going to be tracking a couple of weather systems in the Pacific. Each one has the potential to disrupt our holiday travel.
And later, a warning during the holidays, criminals are using AI trying to scam you.
What's already been hard to establish as fraud, harder to even discern.
All right, what you're looking at right now is the California Department of Fish and Wildlife releasing beavers into the wild for the first time in 75 years. A family of 7 beavers now has a home in Plumas County, and the new family group of beavers will join another beaver in the valley to reestablish a breeding population. And this will help the Mountain View Meadow ecosystem. Monica's dying at these shots right now, including the water there. So CDFW says that they will introduce those beavers to the river reservation. I know, so cute, in the southern Sierra Nevada next. So very exciting.
It's very exciting. They are nature's original engineers. They are incredibly smart in how they help to navigate our floodwaters and floodplains as well. So really helpful and
vital to the ecosystem.
Benefit to the ecosystem. They were deemed an invasive species 75 years ago. That's why they said no more.
Wow.
And now they went, oh, wait, these actually
wait a second,
could
we might want to take that back.
Right,
Yeah.
take it back. And we're going to be looking at the potential for some minor flooding, unfortunately, with these weather systems coming in. Here's a look at how all of this is going to unfold. Now, initially, what we're going to see tonight is just some cloud cover streaming through, and it will partially obscure that Geminid meteor shower. The peak is going to be from 9 p.m. until dawn tomorrow morning. I would say if you want to try to catch a glimpse of that, go closer to the 9 p.m. hour, because as we head through the evening, we're actually going to see more and more cloud cover. Today's highs, slightly above average. Those morning lows were a little bit more moderate, but still in the 30s. We'll have pretty much status quo conditions for the next several days until Saturday. That's going to be our time frame to get all those errands done. Overnight low drops to 37 degrees, variable cloud cover with temperatures holding in the 40s until we get to about midnight. Storm track is very progressive. This is a big shift from what we've been seeing already into our rainy season. We've got 2 storms we're going to be watching, the first of which is going to hit us over the course of the weekend. And then this storm number 2, well, that's gearing up to be our Christmas week storm. Preparation for storms include some travel with nuisance flooding and snow chains with the first system coming through. You might want to check those tires, wipers, and chains. Also clearing the gutters and storm drains before we get going on all of this, because as you can see, we're expecting anywhere from about 1 inch to 2 inches of rain just in the next 7 days. That will not include that second storm system. The first one is just taking shape right now in the Pacific, really tapping into some juicy subtropical moisture with a higher snow line. We don't actually see that snow level drop until we get to the Wednesday storm system. That kind of reinforces some of that cold air coming in. So just be prepared for a lot of rain starting up by the end of this weekend into the beginning of next week, with more in store heading our way by Christmas week.
All right, Monica, thank you. Next, the Federal Reserve keeps interest rates untouched, the impact it could have on those paying off credit card debt or buying a home. And Tesla recalls nearly all of its cars sold in the U.S., the investigation and the issue that led to this point. Tonight in your price points, the Fed is deciding not to raise interest rates. They say that if inflation keeps trending lower, economists think the Fed could even start to cut rates next year.
For the third time in a row, the Federal Reserve leaving interest rates untouched.
Inflation has eased from its highs, and this has come without a significant increase in unemployment. That's very good news.
This after the central bank already raised them 11 times since March of last year. It's the clearest sign so far that the Fed may be getting closer to the end of its rate hiking streak, likely making this critical decision because it believes the economy has been moving mostly in the right direction with inflation cooling. New data shows inflation slowed to a rate of 3.1% last month, down slightly from October.
The lower inflation readings over the past several months are welcome, but we will need to see further evidence to build confidence that inflation is moving down sustainably toward our goal. While we believe that our policy rate is likely at or near its peak for this tightening cycle, We are prepared to tighten policy further if appropriate.
And that would be helpful for borrowers paying off credit card debt or buying a home. In anticipation of potential Fed rate cuts, the cost of a new mortgage is dropping. If you take out a $400,000 mortgage at today's 7% rate, your monthly payment at about $2,600 is almost $300 cheaper than in October when rates hit 8%. And though these rates are coming down, they are still close to 20-year highs.
And experts say although inflation is down, it is still high above the Fed's 2% target. Right now, California faces a record $68 billion deficit in the 2024 to 2025 fiscal year. In a new budget letter released by the governor's office, they say that they'll be putting a pause on non-essential spending. That includes things like IT equipment, fleet vehicles, office supplies, and non-essential travel. The letter says that agencies will be required to report their monthly savings and exemptions that are made. And as for how the budget deficit will be addressed, Newsom is expected to release his proposal come January. Tesla is recalling nearly 2 million cars sold in the U.S. to fix a defective system that's supposed to ensure drivers are paying attention when they use autopilot. The recall comes after a 2-year federal investigation into a crash that happened while Tesla's autopilot partially automated driving system was in use. And some crashes caused deaths. And just last month, we told you how some Tesla drivers were having issues with phantom braking. And it happens when the car's sensors detect something in the road and slams on the brakes, even though there is nothing there in the middle of the road. And federal regulators say that it has led to at least 1 death. Now, Tesla says they will send out autopilot software updates to affected vehicles. Safety experts say while the recall is a good step in the right direction, it still makes the driver responsible and doesn't fix the underlying problem that Tesla's automated systems have trouble spotting and stopping for obstacles in their path. Tonight, there's a new warning about how criminals are working to take advantage of you this holiday season using AI. I'll be happy when we have to stop doing scam stories. But anyways, here we are. It's the holiday. And Jerry Keynes from our sister story station in Atlanta explains how the scam works and what you can do to protect yourself this holiday season.
You've finished your holiday shopping when you get a text claiming there's a problem with delivery of one of your online orders. It provides a link that will open the door for scam artists to invade your holiday cheer. This year, artificial intelligence is helping criminals write their texts and emails in a more convincing way.
All of that's a new game now. It's just making what's already been hard to establish as fraud harder to even discern. So it's, there's a lot of risk out there, sadly.
Fraud claims are up dramatically. An AARP survey asked shoppers if they'd been targeted by bogus claims of delivery problems with an online order. 29% of the people surveyed last year said yes. It's up to 53% this year. In addition to the delivery problem scam, the holidays bring charity and online shopping scams. AARP's Director of Fraud Prevention says artificial intelligence is helping scammers mimic voices to convince their victims they're talking with a relative in need of help.
Any technology innovation is a big win for today's fraud criminals. And I think that generative artificial intelligence is like the industrial revolution.
Kathy Stokes says the signs of fraud are the same. Be wary of any text or email with a link, even if it looks like it's from a legitimate source. Don't respond to anyone who's pushy or plays on your emotions.
What they want to do is get you nervous. There's a problem with my bank, and click on that link or phone that number. Don't do either of those things.
The intelligence is coming from an artificial source, but falling for a scam has consequences that are very real.
I hate this. These scams are getting so real, so please make sure you are protecting yourself. And if you feel like you've been a victim of a scam, you can call your local law enforcement to make a report. You can also report fraud to the Federal Trade Commission, and we do have that link on our website, abc10.com/links. Next, an area often viewed negatively is getting a boost. What's planned for the area around Del Paso Boulevard? Before we go, we want to share what we're working on for tomorrow. So here's Jeannie Nguyen with the story that she's been following.
It is a struggle.
How much do you think that totaled in merchandise loss?
Over $10,000.
Business owners along Del Paso Boulevard.
July, we were broken into 3 times in 30 days.
Fed up with crime and struggling to keep their businesses afloat.
You just see spirals of poverty, crack cocaine, unemployment, all these things of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that took its toll on Del Paso Boulevard.
What's being done to revitalize the boulevard and the city's plans for its future.
It's going to also add to that foot traffic, which ultimately will support the local businesses on the boulevard as well.
Watch tomorrow only on To The Point, weeknights at 6:30.
Yep, our Jeannie Nguyen will have that full report. And as always, thank you so much for joining us here on To The Point. We are always working to bring you more context and more information to the issues impacting us here in Northern California. So if there is something that you care about or you just want more information on, make sure you reach out to me and the team. Have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.